Okay. People are still trickling in, but I know we only have so much time tonight, so we'll go ahead and begin. So hello all, my name is Mimi Mudd, and I want to welcome you to the final webinar in our Summer 2024 Family Webinar Series. Tonight, I'm joined by my colleagues, E'Quain Rhodes, who's the Assistant Director of Housing Operations, and Katharine Pei, who's the Director of Student Transitions and Family Programs. So we're excited that you've chosen to join us for tonight's conversation about move-in and fall welcome. We have some information for you all before we get started. So first, we want to make sure you know how to submit questions throughout the webinar. You will notice that we've given you the ability to ask questions via the Q&A feature in Zoom. So we have staff within Student Transitions and Family Programs that's going to help field these questions. So feel free to submit them throughout the webinar as questions pop up. To make sure you all know how to use the Q&A feature, please share the place from which you are watching tonight, and then we will name a few of them on air in just a moment. Second, we'll be showing a PowerPoint created by our panelists during tonight's webinar. However, if you prefer to download the PowerPoint and follow along on your own, we'll be sharing a link to a PDF version of the PowerPoint for that. As a note, in the chat feature, we will be sharing links throughout the webinar as well. Third, this webinar is being recorded live. It's going to be uploaded to our families.wustl.edu website by end of day tomorrow to make sure that you all have time to review the information before move-in next week. Lastly, in a moment, we'll hear from E'Quain and Katharine about move-in day and fall welcome. If something they say sparks a question, again, don't forget to submit that through the Q&A feature. And then after their presentation, we'll move into that question and answer portion of the evening. So before passing things along, I want to share some of the places from which people are joining us tonight. We have people joining us from Hawaii, Raleigh, North Carolina, Downers Grove, Illinois, New York City, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, since I know you all want to hear more about move-in day and fall welcome, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our panelists, beginning with E'Quain.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is E'Quain Rhodes. My pronouns are he, him, his. Of course, I'm the Assistant Director for Housing Operations. So I'm going to cover some brief things for you to know about move-in. So first thing is preparing for your arrival. As your students are arriving, we need to confirm that they have submitted a photo ID and immunization records. If you do not have or they've not submitted their photo ID, we cannot give them their WashU ID card. If I cannot give them their WashU ID card, I also cannot give them their room key. If they don't have valid immunization records as well, we can't give them their room key. So it's very important that we get that information submitted ahead of time. Then they will need to review their check-in time via WebStat on the housing portal. If you have not signed up or if they have not signed up for a check-in time slot and date, please do so now. They can do that again via the housing portal. Then we'll need to have them review our residential life policies and procedures page. You can find that by just putting that in any search engine for WashU. And it's very important that we review that because it does list some of the things that are prohibited. We may have time to discuss some of those later on in this particular session. And then lastly, we'll be looking at the packing list. So use the move-in guide or go to newstudents.wustl.edu as a website reference, or you can find our first year move-in day website at the reslife.wustl.edu webpage. And we will be able to assist you with moving your items in this year. We have hired several companies to help you all actually move the items into your particular students' rooms. We just need to make sure that the boxes are appropriately labeled with the first and last name, the building, and room number. And so once you check in, what will happen is you will arrive to what we call our Simon Hall lot or lot 35. The reason we've put that information there is so that you can add it into Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you use to arrive here on campus. Once you arrive here, students will come into the check-in location in our Danforth University Center. A map of this is provided in the move-in guide and on the Res Life webpage for our move-in information. Again, I stress that students will bring their government photo ID into the Danforth University Center. We're asking all family members and guests to stay in the car. Once they are there, they're going to come into the check-in station where they're going to see their WashU ID, their Metro U Pass, their room key, a parking placard, and a one-time move-in golden ticket, as we call it. It's important to note that with this golden ticket, it is a one-time thing. So as you are moving or coming across to the South Florida to move in, our movers will only provide assistance for one trip. Okay, so that is very important to keep in mind. Check-in itself will roughly take about 10 minutes or so in the check-in station. And then once you move over to the South Florida, then we'll actually begin the moving process. Sorry, I got ahead of you there, Mimi. All right. So the move-in process, students will return to their vehicle from the duct and drive over to their residential building unloading zone. The unloading zone is going to be dependent upon which particular building your student has been assigned to. We have 3 separate routes this year. And so once your student checks in, they'll get their parking placard that'll tell them which direction or route they need to take based off of their assigned residential building. Once they arrive to their assigned residential building, they will unload, and a team of professional movers will actually move the items from your vehicle and then place them in our ubiquitous red bins you'll see all over the South 40, and then move them into our buildings. We are asking that the driver of the vehicle stay within the vehicle during the unloading process. And then that driver will take the vehicle to a long-term parking lot while the student stays with the belongings. We do have shuttle service to transport you to and from the long-term parking area back to the assignment lot, where then you'll be able to travel over to the South 40. Again, the student is provided a one-time moving assistance ticket to our professional movers so that all of those items in the vehicle will be transported to the rooms. Okay. So once your student is in the room, we'll give you an idea of what's in the room. So all rooms will come with an adjustable, extra long, twin size bed, a mattress, carpets, desks with chairs. Um, as it relates to Wi-Fi and streaming service, that is provided as well. For more information about the room dimensions, floor plans, the cleaning schedules, or room types, you can find it on the Res Life webpage. So if you just click on Fall 2024 Move-In Information, essentially all of the information you'll need about the residential communities will be found there as well. Okay, some additional details. I know sometimes we tend to bring more items than maybe what is necessary. So I would ask that if you are coming with a U-Haul or a box trailer, that you don't, but in the event that you are, please realize we're going to have to relocate that to another location. As far as shopping, upon move-in, we do have a number of stores within a pretty close radius to the university. Just realize that if you choose to go shopping after move-in or after your students move their items in, movers will not bring those items that you purchased afterwards into the rooms. You or your student will be required to do that as well. Our Heitzman Mail Center will be open at that time. You can start shipping items here as early as 2 weeks out. So that would be as of last Friday, you can ship items here. We cannot store those items in rooms ahead of moving though. Okay, so those items will be held by our mail services center. Again, our long-term parking will be provided to you all in our Danforth University Center garage and also our East End garage. And again, shuttle service will be provided for you all. There is a move-in guide that you can access via the Res Life webpage, but also via newstudents.woostu.edu. And then for physical key requests, this is something new that we are trying this year. We recognize that sometimes some of our students, due to housing accommodations needs or religious observances, will probably require physical keys. If your student feels that they would need a physical key request, they are asked to submit that physical key request via the housing portal. You can find that under request forms. All of those physical key requests will be reviewed and approved, or if approved, we'll work to have those keys available for students upon move-in. And so for our international students are scheduled to arrive on August 14th unless they're arriving on the 16th or 17th. Due to the scheduling of it, professional movers will not be provided for international students on August 14th. However, there is a team of staff here that will be available to assist students with any luggage or anything. Check-in will take place actually on the South 40 in a location we call Ursus. I will be there to assist with the checking in of all our international students on the 14th. And lastly, for those students who will be flying in into Lambert Airport, our Office of International Student Engagement will actually be providing shuttle service to our international students from Lambert Airport to WashU's campus on those days, or that particular day, the 14th. And then for our transfer and exchange students, same similar thing, just a little bit later. Transfer and exchange welcome will take place on August 20th in Ursus. That check-in will be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Again, we won't be providing professional movers on those particular days for our transfer and exchange students, but you will also be able to see me, or those students will be able to see me, as I will be there monitoring that check-in station for them. And so that's all I have for move-in right now. I'm certain I've generated some questions, or a number of questions for people, but I'm going to turn it over to Katharine to talk about fall welcome and parent and family orientation.
Hi, everyone. We're excited to welcome you to campus in a few short days. I'm going to go over the fall welcome and parent and family orientation schedule, and then I will turn it back over to Mimi to answer some of the questions that we see you all are putting in the Q&A panel. And so student transitions and family programs, we support things like orientation. So when we see you on campus in a couple of days, we will be the people out there with our colleagues in residential life welcoming you and hoping to create a wonderful welcome experience for you to WashU. We oversee a peer mentorship group called WUSA, or Washington University Student Associate. So all of our incoming undergraduate students, our first years, transfers, and exchange students are assigned an upper division peer mentor who will support their transition. They'll serve as an orientation leader during fall welcome, and then they will serve as a peer mentor during the academic year and stay through this with the students throughout that whole year. We do first year experience programs, we do programs for sophomores, and then we are the university's parent and family office as well, hosting parent and family orientation and parent and family weekend. For our families on this call, if you have not already RSVP'd to parent and family orientation, please do so as soon as possible. We're going to drop a link in the chat for you. The deadline has passed already, but we extended it for this event. It is really helpful for us to know who is coming to campus. We use that information to make sure that we have enough drinks and cookies, and for events that are seated, where there's a dinner, to make sure that there is a chair, a table, and a meal for you. And so please fill that out as soon as possible. Know that if for some reason you don't get this filled out, we will do our very best to accommodate when you're here, but it makes it a lot harder to make sure that there's that chair, that table, and a cookie for you if we don't know that you're coming in advance. So please fill that out now. Over move-in weekend for families, we invite you to some special events. On Friday, August 16th, for the families whose students are moving in that evening, we have a reception at Risa Commons, which is located on the South 40 for our families. Chancellor Martin and our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Ana Gonzalez, will be there to welcome you and have an opportunity for you to meet other families of our new students. That is at the exact same time that your students have a residential floor meeting. So it's a great time for you to send your student off to the floor meeting, and for families for you to come join us for a brief reception. On Saturday, August 17th at 5:30 p.m., there's a special program welcome for students who are affiliated with some of our scholar programs and our Taylor Family Center for Student Success. So if a student is in Beyond Boundaries, if they are associated with the Office of Scholar Programs, so they are a Danforth, Irvin, or Rodriguez Scholar, or if they are affiliated with the Taylor Family Center for Student Success, so they might be called a Taylor Star, Trio, or a Kessler Scholar. If any of those names sound familiar to you, students and families, please attend this special program welcome at 5:30. Students, if you are in one of those programs, you are also going to get an email about this, or should have already, so please be checking your WashU email. For all families, again, if your student's moving in on Saturday, we encourage you to come to that reception at recess while your student goes to the residential floor meeting. So students, you only go to a residential floor meeting the day you move in. So if you're moving in on the 16th, you go to the meeting on the 16th. If you're moving in on the 17th, you go to the meeting on the 17th. For our students who are coming early, so our fall varsity athletes and our international students, you are all going to go to the meeting on the 16th as well. Then on Sunday, August 18th, there's some programming that is for both students and families, and some of it that's separate so that you can get the most relevant information to you. So I'll start with our students. Students, you have a residential community meeting at 10 a.m. Then at 11:15, you're going to break into your small groups with your WUSAs. Then you will join your families at the resource fair and have lunch with them on your own on campus. That resource fair goes from noon to 3. When you look at the schedule, we're going to ask you to attend either to go get your lunch first, or to go to the resource fair first. We do that so that we don't have all 2,000 families and their 4,000 guests trying to eat lunch at the same time or going to the resource fair at the same time. So we ask you to split up as best you can according to the way that we've done so on the schedule. And then for students who took a gap year, there is a reception for you at 2 p.m. We then have time on the schedule for you to say farewell to your family and see you soon. And then that evening, there is another WUSA small group at 7 p.m. Families at 9 a.m., there's an event called Parents as Partners. Chancellor Andrew D. Martin will speak and welcome you all to the institution. And then the Division of Student Affairs will have an opportunity for you to meet the Associate Vice Chancellors who oversee our areas for career engagement, health and well-being, student belonging on campus, etc. And we'll be there to answer your questions as well. Then you will head to a dean's meeting. So whatever academic division your student is in, arts and sciences, Olin business, McKelvey engineering, or Sam Fox art and design, which is art and architecture, you will get to hear from the deans of those academic divisions and learn about your student's curriculum. At noon, then you'll join your student for that resource fair and lunch. And then at 2 p.m., families, you're welcome to join your student for a gap year reception. If you are a parent of a varsity athlete, there is a reception specifically for the families. So those fall varsity athletes typically need to be going to practice, and families are invited to a reception at that time. Then again, there's that time for you to say farewell to your student for now, and then make sure that you encourage your student to be on time to their meeting at 7 p.m. Then for students, Monday through Saturday, you will be very busy. This is why families, while we encourage you to say farewell to your student on Sunday, they will be ready and charging full ahead to start college at WashU. And so over the course of the Monday through Saturday, students, you will experience time with your academic division, where you will have the opportunity to meet with your four-year advisor, your academic advisor. You have an opportunity to explore the curriculum. You will get to learn about things that are unique to your school. So if you are in Sam Fox, you're going to set up your studio space. If you are in Olin Business School, the dean gives you your first academic lecture. If you're in arts and sciences, you get to explore the different types of classes that they offer in arts and sciences because they have a really wide breadth of curriculum. In McKelvey, you'll have the opportunity to explore what student groups are affiliated with McKelvey. So every school has a little bit of a different flavor. We run it conference style. Everyone will spend some time learning about the university's values and community expectations. There's opportunity to socialize with your peers. And then we end the week with students having the opportunity for you to explore St. Louis, to visit some of our neighborhoods or national and local attractions, to focus on healthy excellence. So participating in yoga on the swamp. The swamp is a green grassy area where our undergraduate residential students live. Perhaps you're going to learn about healthful dining options on campus, etc. And then students in special programs, so those welcomes that I mentioned on Sunday, if you were in one of those programs, you may spend some time specifically with your program, either attending a retreat off campus or in an all-day series of sessions for you. And then we conclude fall welcome for our students with convocation, which is the university's launch into the start of school. So you'll hear from the chancellor, the provost, our vice chancellor for student affairs, a student in the senior class, and then it ends with a party on the east end of campus. For our transfer and exchange students, you're here from Tuesday the 20th to Saturday the 24th. Again, you're going to have those academic experiences, the university values and community expectations, conversations, socials in the LU, and healthy excellence. Just so students and families, you know, some of the topics we're going to be covering during Fall Welcome, we're going to talk about academic life and how to make sure that you have a successful first year. We'll discuss community living. We know for many students, this is the first time you're probably going to be sharing a room with someone else. We'll discuss things like safety and security, health and well-being, equity, diversity, and inclusion, WashU's commitment to be in, with, and for St. Louis, and an opportunity for you to experience some of WashU's spirit and traditions. And for students and families, if you have not done this already, I highly encourage you to have 4 key conversations before you part ways from your family for a little bit. First, make sure that you're clear on expectations for college. Families, many of you are supporting your students financially to be here, and you are all supporting your students emotionally. You are the biggest supporters for your students. And so what are those expectations that you as a family have for college and what that experience might be? Have a plan for communication. We know that with cell phones, it's different than when I had to like wait down the hallway for a phone for us all to share. We don't even put landline phones in the residence hall rooms anymore. Everyone probably has a smartphone, but think about how often you're going to communicate. Who's going to reach out first? My parents are in their late 70s, and they will text me when they're at the grocery store, even still, to tell me that they found my favorite foods. We don't live in the same city, and they're still doing that, right? Is that what you're looking for? Is it pictures of your family pet? I still want to see my parents' dog that is 14 years old. And so think about what that's going to look like. Is it going to be a call, a text, a FaceTime? Think about preparing for independent living. So students, make sure that you know how to do all these things on your own. I know you've already been doing them, but like make sure you know how to do your own laundry, make a meal in a microwave quickly, get yourself a snack, know how to budget, clean your own space, etc. And then talk lastly about expectations around sharing information around grades and academic progress. Students, regardless of your age, so even if you are under the age of 18, you are protected by something called FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It's pretty similar to HIPAA, where your information is protected to you. Unlike HIPAA, which doesn't kick in until you're 18, FERPA covers students of all ages, including if they're under the age of 18. And so the university cannot and will not share information with families about things like grades and academic progress. And so it's really important, again, for families, if you are serving as a supporter for your student, particularly financially, and you have an expectation to know your students' grades. I know my parents had that expectation 20 years ago. Then please have that conversation now about what that looks like and how you want to share that information with one another. And then just reiterating one last time, E'Quain talked about some of these things, but please complete all of the action items related to the before you arrive checklist. Every item on that checklist needs to be done before you come, but here are the ones that if you don't do, you'll be delayed in accessing your residence hall, and or a hold could be put on your academic record, preventing you from adjusting your class schedule. So if you don't have those updated health history and immunization forms, you don't have a student ID photo, we cannot give you a key to your residence hall. It's not safe for us to give people keys if we don't have a picture of them on their student ID. We need to make sure we have everyone's immunization records and health history forms so that we don't cause a super spreader event, or making sure we have herd immunity. Some of us aren't able to get vaccines because we're allergic to them. So it's really important that we make sure everyone else has those. So if you don't have those 2 things, E'Quain cannot give you your room key. I'm making it sound like E'Quain's personally handing you all his keys. It's his team doing it. You might not see E'Quain then, but someone on his excellent team will be there to hand you your key if you've got these 2 things done. If you want to participate in one of those experiences during Fall Welcome or during the year to explore St. Louis, sign the In the LU waiver. Students, if you're are under the age of 18, make sure you have a parent or guardian do that. And then these last 2 items here that I mentioned, the year 1 college behavior profile, which talks about things like alcohol and other drug use, and then a community standards Canvas module where we discuss the student conduct code, academic integrity, and hazing. If those 2 things aren't done, a hold can be placed on your record, which prohibits your ability to adjust your course schedule. So again, every item on that checklist needs to get done, but if you don't do the ones on here, you can't get your room key, you can't go explore St. Louis with campus life. and you might have a hold put on your record. So please do all of these things. And then lastly, we're going to answer questions right now, but we are also available at other times. So lots of really great resources at reslife.worcester.edu. These websites for our office, transitions.worcester.edu, newstudents.worcester.edu, and families.worcester.edu. We are checking our email. We are answering our phone. Our business hours are 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Central Time. Someone is always there to answer the phone. I will say that both of our offices have multiple phone lines, but we're getting a lot of calls right now. So if someone doesn't answer, it goes to voicemail. I promise there is a person there who will call you right back. But I can tell you today that we had 5 phone lines going at the same time and it wasn't enough. And so we will call you back, but it might just take us a few minutes. And we do check our email every single day of the business days. I'm not checking it on Saturday for y'all. Love you much as our students, but I'm gonna take this Saturday off because we will be here next Saturday to support you. I do want to give you one little tip. The university is launching new websites on August 16th. And so the links that we have been giving you now and the websites we have listed here are the correct ones. But when if you log in on August 15th and then you log in on August 16th, they will look fundamentally different. We know that date may seem a little wild and crazy, but when the university is trying to relaunch everyone's website, for us in our medical campus, they picked a date and that was the date that they went with. And so we're going with it too. And so know that the information will still be there. The links will still work, but the visual will be a little bit different. And so I'm going to turn it back to Mimi because I can see that y'all have a bunch of questions. We want to make sure we answer them for you.
Great. Thank you both so much for that information. I will go ahead and kind of kick us off with a starter question that I just saw a lot in pre-submission. So I would say this is probably more of a Katharine question, but E'Quain, if you'd like to take it, you may. First question is just, how long do families usually stay in St. Louis for orientation?
Sure. So I will say that somewhere between 50% and 60% of our students come to campus with one or more family members or supporters. So I want to start out by saying that because if you are a student coming on your own or you're a family member on this call and you know that you can't stay very long, that is okay. We know that families have lots of other commitments. You may have younger kids at school, you have work, you have the distance is too great. We understand all of that. And so students, if you come by yourself, please know we will be here to help you move in. We will have student leaders to be with you. You will have someone to have a meal with and guide you along the way. You won't be alone. But for families who are coming, if you want to stay the whole time for parent family orientation, that would be until Sunday, August 18th. And so our official programming ends on 3 p.m. on the 18th. And then you would want to say that farewell to your student and know that they're going to be really busy starting Monday morning. They have that required meeting on Sunday evening that they need to get to. And then following that, they really don't have a lot of time to see you. I know there are some families who will try and stick around and have breakfast with their student on Monday, Tuesday. If you are an early riser as a student and you think you will continue to do that in college, you can try to sneak that in. But for the most part, we find that our students, even if you're an early riser at home, it's a little harder to do at college because people tend to stay up pretty late on that Sunday, making friends in the residence halls, hanging out in the common rooms, etc. And so even if right now you think that you want to get up at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, in practicality, that might be a little bit more challenging. Families, if you aren't able to be here, we will provide recordings of parents as partners in the dean's meetings for you at a later time.
Great, thank you. Okay, E'Quain, we will go ahead and get started on move-in questions for you. So first question, just a clarification around that move-in time slot. Is that when they're expected to check in at the duck, or is that a separate time? Just wanting some clarification about check-in versus move-in time.
Yes, the check-in time slot is for them to arrive at the Danforth University Center. Once they check in, that's why we give about 10 minutes or so to get all of those things completed. You'll come in and you'll go around a series of tables where you'll meet a number of people. The last station will be actually the Res Life station where you'll actually get your room key. Then from there, you will be released to go down to the South 40 from the duck to move in. In the event that, yeah, no, that's about it actually.
Great, thank you. And then just kind of following up on that, we had a few more clarification questions about move-in. Is there a certain number of cars that are allowed to unload with that one-time move-in ticket?
A certain number of cars. So, yes, we are going to say one vehicle per student. And that's just to ease, that's the reason we do this is to control flow of traffic for our local community, but also to make sure that we aren't overwhelming our movers and our staff. We want to make sure that everyone has a pretty consistent and equal move-in experience, and a pretty great one at that. And so we've learned over time that by kind of staggering it and having people use time slots and restricting the number of vehicles that they can have, it makes it simpler for our families and students to move in, plus also our staff. So we're going to say one vehicle per student, please.
And if a student has Friday as their assigned move-in, they move in, the professional movers do that one-time trip. Are they allowed to continue moving in on their own on Saturday?
Yes, but with a bit of caution because we are still going to be moving in our other families and students on that Saturday. We'll tell you that our traffic flow on the South 40 gets reversed those 2 days. And so we would say that students and families need to exercise a bit of caution. As far as moving in, what will have to happen is you'll actually have to park in long-term parking and then take a shuttle back up. Because on those particular days, we are only allowing people on the South 40 that have that golden ticket and parking placard that allows them onto the South 40 to move in between the times of 8 and 4 p.m. After 4 p.m. Central Time on Friday night and Saturday evening, you are free to move about the country, as Southwest Airlines would say, as it relates to the South 40.
And then we had some follow-up questions about specific population move-ins, so transfer exchange, international varsity athletes. I know all of those are on different dates. If they're moving in not on August 16th and 17th, I know you shared there's no professional movers.
Right.
Do they have any other specifics to the move-in process they should be aware of?
So for our varsity athletes, the specific process, you would be mostly in communication with your coach. We are going to do your check-in actually at the athletic complex. More information is to come for those students who are varsity athletes. For our international students, they should have received some communication from our Office of International Student Engagement as far as what their steps are for moving on the 14th. And for our transfer and our transfer and exchange students, sorry, similar thing where information will be communicated to you. Really, we are working to make sure that we have it as seamless as possible for you all. We do acknowledge and recognize that movers won't be available, but we will have red bands and dollies and other move-in assistance for those student groups as well.
Great, thank you. And then I saw one more follow-up about move-in, asking if lot 35 is flat lot or garage. That one's a flat lot, but just a note, they'll probably be going on flat lots, but also in garages. Would you say E'Quain is, because you said East End Garage, I think is another option?
Yes, East End Garage is a garage. We are actually requesting that families for long-term parking park down there for lot 35. We're using that for check-in. So what will happen is you'll show up on lot 35, and the goal is to have students not sit, or parents and guests not sit there longer than 10 minutes, which is why we provide the move-in time slots.
Great. So if that question was coming from thinking about height of car and things on top of car, just know that you will be on both flat lots, but then also in a garage eventually, more than likely. Okay, we'll go ahead to a fall welcome question. So first question for you, Katharine. How can students go about receiving accommodation for religious observances during those first days of fall welcome, during move-in, and then throughout fall welcome?
So we always accommodate anyone's religious practices or experiences. And so on the Fall Welcome website, there is a little caret down about religious observances. And so we encourage students to fully observe your faith, practice, and tradition. And you should reach out to your WUSA when you get in that first small group meeting to let them know if you plan on missing an orientation event. If your conflict is at the same time as that first small group meeting on Sunday, August 18th, you can tell your WUSA when they reach out to you next week. So you'll all hear from your WUSAs next week, and you can tell them at that point what your conflicts are. If you have serious concerns, like you have someone's faith practice all week, like they need to be fasting or not using technology for the entire week, and it's not the typical like daily prayer or Sabbath that we might be familiar with. Please also feel free to reach out to Reverend Callista Isabel, who's the director of the Office for for Religious, Spiritual, and Ethical Life. And again, I think they just put it in the chat, but there is some information on our website as well. Practice your faith first.
Thank you. And then a follow-up question for you, Catherine, just a general question. Are students required to attend all of the events during Fall Welcome?
You look at the Fall Welcome schedule, there's a key at the beginning of the schedule that tells you which things are required. If it says it's required, then you have to go to it. All of the floor meetings and the small groups are required. Most of the academic division sessions are required with some rare exception. The WashU Life series, which are in the evenings of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, are required. There is an In the Lou panel where our chancellor and vice chancellor for student affairs are going to host some key community leaders on Thursday morning. That is required. And then convocation on Saturday, August 24th is required. A lot of stuff is required. Some of it is required by law for us to discuss things like Title IX. Some of it is required by WashU because we want to make sure that you're prepared to start school successfully with academic preparation. And some of it is required by us when we talk about our community expectations and values, because we want everyone at WashU to understand what WashU's core values are and what we want our students to experience at WashU. So there is a lot required. We know that, but you can use the key in the schedule to determine that. Nothing is required for families, obviously.
And just a little follow-up on what Catherine said. I saw some questions in the QA coming in about schedules. So we've been sharing those in the chat. You also can find them on our websites on families.wusel.edu and newstudents.wusel.edu. Also, if you just Google WashU Fall Welcome or WashU PFO, Parent Family Orientation, they should pop up. Okay, E'Quain, back to you. So next question for you, we're getting a little specific about the residential communities and buildings. So first question, do all residential communities and halls have elevators? And I'll start there.
No. Some of our buildings are listed, or we classify them as our traditional buildings, and so they do not have elevators. Those first-year buildings this year would be Lee Hall, Dalton, Rutledge, Shanling, Heitzman, Hurd, and Myers.
And then are there dollies and or carts to use during move-in? I know you mentioned the bins. What things are available in addition to bins, if anything, to help people move in?
We tend to have some red bins and dollies available. We are asking that during those moving times between 8 and 4 p.m. that we preference those for our professional moving crews, so that they have all of the resources that they need to move items into the buildings.
And then where can students and their families find information specific to, some people were asking about like pictures of the residential communities, of the rooms, size and layout of closets, bathrooms, amenities that come in the room, etc. Where can people find that information?
Yes, so that information can be found at the Res Life webpage. If you go to the Res Life webpage and click on move-in information, there's a button under your residential community that's going to provide you with the option to look at virtual tours of our spaces and floor plans of our spaces as well. As far as dimensions of closets, because of the nature of the unique nature of some of our facilities, we don't provide that as of right now, but that is something we'll probably have on the website soon.
And then we had a specific question about fridge size, if you want to be able to speak to that.
Yes, so the side-by-side smart refrigerator with the 10-inch screen that you probably got from Home Depot, you probably should not be trying to bring that with you to campus. The maximum size that we will allow just for space and energy consumption purposes would be 4 cubic feet. We recommend that students bring fridges between 1.5 and 1.7 cubic feet, but we will allow them up to 4 cubic feet for space. But anything larger than that, please don't try to bring those. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, Catherine, we have a question specific to parent-family orientation. So if parents or family members are leaving town before the start of that Sunday programming, where do you recommend they go to get the information that they might be missing?
So we will email all families with the links to the recordings of Parents as Partners, as well as the dean's sessions after fall welcome is over. And I will say almost all of the information we're providing is available on the family's website as well already. We just know that some people prefer a live session or a recorded session where they can get it kind of in a packaged way. And so we will provide that information to you.
Great, thank you. Okay, back to move-in. We had a question about U-trucking. So if students have U-trucking moving their items in prior to their arrival, is that student able to go straight to park and just walk to their residence hall since they don't have anything to unload from the car, or should they still do some sort of check-in process?
They should still check in at the duct in order to get their ID card that will grant them access to the building. From there, if they don't have any items that they personally need to move in, then they are free to go to the long-term parking over at the East End Garage. And then if that's where that's the only place they're going to be able to store their vehicle for those 2 days of move-in. After that date, then they need to communicate with parking and transportation. But for those students who are utilizing U-trucking, yes, U-trucking will work to have your items in your room upon moving.
And then we had some questions come in about if there's any different process for a student or a family member that might be arriving via like a ride share, Uber, taxi. Is there a different process or should they follow the same?
It's a pretty similar process for them. Instead of them having a vehicle that they would need to park at the East End Garage, utilize long-term parking, you would just have your rideshare destination from wherever it is you're coming from be set as the Simon Hall lot or lot 35 or the Danforth University Center. And then still try to check in at that specific check-in time so that we can accommodate you.
Thank you. Okay, Catherine, back to parent-family orientation questions. So what do you recommend parents and family members do while they're in St. Louis, while their student might be busy with moving in or fall welcome? We did get some specific questions too about if they're moving in Friday, things that you recommend for them to do during Saturday before the programming really begins on Sunday.
So on the family's website, we do have a visiting campus section, which includes information about dining and entertainment in St. Louis. So there is a dining guide that we have on there. If you're looking for local eats, they are all places that our students have recommended. St. Louis may not seem like it, but we are very much a foodie city. And so there are some great places to eat there. There's a list of top 25 things to do in St. Louis, happenings in St. Louis, etc. I will say that there's a ton to do in St. Louis. We have more free attractions than anywhere else in the United States other than Washington, D.C. And so we are located adjacent to Forest Park, which is one of the largest urban parks in America. There is a zoo, art museum, history museum, and science center, all free to visit and very close to campus if that's of interest to you. We also obviously have the Gateway National Arch if you are into visiting national parks. It is very different from other national parks because it's not the kind you hike through. But there are tons of things to do in St. Louis, and that website should give you some good ideas to do it. And, frankly, a lot of our families, what they're doing is like taking their student out for a meal off campus and making a last minute run to Walmart or Target or whatever big box store is the favorite for your family.
Great. And then kind of on that train of food, will students' meal plans be active starting on their move-in day?
So all student meal plans activate on Friday, August 16th. So even if your move-in day is on Saturday, August 17th, if you happen to already be in St. Louis or on campus and you want to grab something to eat, you can use your meal plan. And students, you won't have your ID. You can pay to eat on campus if you don't have your ID yet. Once you get your physical ID when you check in, then you can use your meal plan.
Thank you. Okay, E'Quain, back to you. Some more questions about move-in. So are students encouraged to sleep in their rooms Friday night if they have Friday move-in? And then is there a guest policy when it comes to a parent or family member sleeping in that room as well?
So for students, yes, we encourage students to sleep in the rooms that they are assigned to. That, that question, I want to make sure I understand that question. They're asking if they move in on Friday, should they sleep in their room on Friday?
Yes.
Yes. As far as a guest policy, we do not typically allow parents or anyone that is not a student assigned to that facility or community to live with or to stay in the facility. That's just due to uh, health and safety concerns. So for those parents, we would encourage them to secure a hotel room or another accommodation.
Thank you. And then if people are, having Friday move-in or Saturday move-in, and then they go shopping, come back with their items, can you clarify whether they are allowed to pause outside of the residence hall to unload, or do they need to go to that long-term parking and get the items from there to the residential hall?
We are going to say that they should probably go to the long-term parking and then get the items from there via one of the shuttles. And the reason for that is just due to the traffic on the South 40 at that time. Again, this is between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. is where we're going to have a lot of traffic. After 4 p.m., our movers go home for the day. And so at that time, we still will have some traffic enforcement on the South 40. But at that time, people are welcome to come onto the South 40 on the promenade and drop things off, but they cannot park their vehicles there.
Great, thank you. Okay, Katharine, some fall welcome questions. So will there be time for students to walk their class schedule and locate all of the necessary classrooms, lecture halls, etc. during fall welcome?
There is a session on Wednesday called Classes Are Monday, Get Ready. That is a required session for students. We cover information from our academic divisions and the Center for Teaching and Learning to make sure that students are prepared for classes to begin. Following that session, there's an optional session called Find Your Class Tours, where the WUSAs will help students find their classrooms and be able to make sure that they have all the things they need to start school successfully. So there are 2 sessions that help, and then there's also time built into the schedule on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for students to be able to go get prepared with any last minute items. So if you need an extra folder, etc., looking for books, there's time for you to do that as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, E'Quain, we're going to move a little bit more into shipping items in advance. So how can students and their families pick up anything they might have shipped, purchased online, etc. On move-in day? Where are they supposed to go and what's the process for that?
So at that time, those items should be available for students a few days after move-in day at the Heitzman Mail Center. The reason for that is the Heitzman Mail Center is actually located on the ground level of one of our first-year buildings, and just as a means of making sure that we provide a safe egress of traffic, mail services probably won't be able to assist students with picking up those items on move-in day. However, those items will absolutely positively be available for those students in the Heitzman Mail Center after those move-in days.
Great, thank you. And then do students need their ID cards to pick up items from the mailroom?
Yes, mail services will not ever give out anything to a student or even faculty or staff without proper photo ID.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Catherine, we have a question about convocation and specifically how family members can go about being able to see what convocation is like, specifically watching it on our live stream.
So we will, families, if you have been getting Family Ties as an email from us, that means that your email address is linked to your student's academic record. If you're getting those emails, you'll continue to get them from us in the next couple of days, and there will be a link there that will also be on the new student's website and the family's website. Families, if you are not getting a newsletter called Family Ties, then that means that your email address is not linked to your student's record. And so you need to ask your student to check their record in WebStack under their contact information. Only your student can add your email to their record. So if you email me, you email our office, what I'm going to do is direct you back to have your student check in WebStack. We can't alter your student's record on their behalf. They have to make that request themselves.
Thank you. Okay. Now we have a question about faculty fellows. E'Quain, if you can tell us a little bit about what faculty fellows are and their role.
Yes, so faculty fellows are live-in faculty members. And so they actually live in the residential communities. Most are living in our first-year buildings, and so they live there with their families. And they provide assistance and support to the residential community. It is WashU's way of making sure that students realize that, you know, we take what they do in the classroom seriously, but also acknowledging that you're going to spend most of your time while you're here outside of class. And a large amount of that time may be spent actually in your residential community. And so we will have, I think, roughly about 8 or 9 faculty fellows positioned in most of our first year buildings and communities.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then another move-in question. So a parent or family member or student mentioned that in the move-in guide, they see something about plastic hooks for wall hanging. Can you tell us more about what you all recommend when it comes to hanging things on the wall? What is and is not okay?
Yes. So I saw that there was a question earlier about drilling holes in walls. Please do not do that. Absolutely not, because it these are rooms that we will have to use next year for other students as well. And we are trying to avoid students being billed for the repairs to those walls. So as it relates to what we recommend, in years past, we have recommended command strips and command hooks for things. However, what we are really trying to stress and reinforce to individuals is to really use blue tape, specifically the Scotch blue tape. I had a roll on this desk of mine at some point. Yeah, it is. My blue tape is up and disappeared on me. But we are recommending that students use blue tape to hang things. Um, and that's just because it usually is easier for us to remove the blue tape upon checkout. So one thing
Blue painter's tape, right?
I'm sorry, yes, blue painter's tape. Sorry, Scotch 3M blue painter's tape. And there is a roll.
I've got one.
Catherine, thank you. Catherine and Mimi saw it with me earlier. It's August, and for those of us who work in this field professionally, everything's kind of a haze right now. So I do apologize for not having the blue tape. But we ask that you are utilizing that blue tape because it's easier to take off the walls without damaging our walls. And so we want to make sure that students aren't putting themselves in a situation where they're going to be billed for things down the road. It happens, but our goal is to try to protect you as much as possible from that. So if you're going to use those things, please no nails or thumbtacks or push pins in the walls. If you're going to use plastic hooks, we prefer that they be 3M command hooks. And then also the blue tape. That also applies to the LED rope lights that people put around the perimeter of their walls. Please use blue tape for those, because otherwise it may damage the wall, and we really don't want you to have to do that.
And then in a related vein, where I received a question about tools that they should or shouldn't bring or to move in. This was specific to like raising a bed. So I guess two-pronged question, are there any tools that they should or would need to bring with them? And then how do they go about getting their bed elevated, if that is an option?
Sure. So we have a world-class team of mechanics that serve our buildings. They are actually going to be available to loft any beds in any of our first-year buildings on the move-in days. Students will arrive and at what we call one of our concierge tables. Students will just go down there and make the request, hey, I'd like to have my bed lofted, and then a mechanic will come along. Uh, Usually within that day or within 24 hours to loft that bed for students. Parents and students, I am stressing, please do not attempt to loft the beds on your own. Um, that's we have a team of people here to do that for you.
Great, thank you. Okay, then there was another parent-family orientation question that I can help with. So the question was, how can families verify that they RSVP'd? Is there a confirmation email? So though there is not a confirmation email that's going to be coming from us, the RSVP is in a Qualtrics form. And so we are happy to check that RSVP for you if you want to double check. Just send an email to transitions@woostel.edu, and we'll be able to confirm that for you. Okay. So some more move-in questions for you, E'Quain. What happens to any excess furniture in a room if a student does not need it?
So if a student does not need the furniture that is provided upon move-in, a student can submit a furniture request form and request that the furniture be moved out. However, we also acknowledge that just due to some of the due to the nature of some of the storage issues and everything, we may not be able to accommodate that. So that's why we kind of stress to students and families to be mindful of what they're bringing with them, because the furniture that is located in the room at move-in will be required to be in that in that room upon the time that the student moves out of that room. So,
Great, thank you. And then second to last question, where can students see their housing assignment? So the room they're in and their roommate or suite mates, if applicable.
so all information regarding their housing assignment can be found via the WashU housing portal, which is accessible to students 24/7 via website. And so in there, you can see your housing assignment, you can see your suite mates, you can actually see your move-in time slot if you have already selected one. If you've not selected one, you can go in and select one there as well.
Great, thank you so much. One last question for the evening. Katharine and E'Quain, thank you again for the information you shared tonight, for your thoughtful answers. Last question for you both. What piece of advice do you have for our new students and their families leading up to move-in day and fall welcome? So if you could sum it up in one piece of advice, what would it be? And we'll go ahead and start with you, E'Quain.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Okay, all right. So, um, embrace the moment is what I would say. Move-in day it's my favorite day of the year. It doesn't feel like it this week, but it is my favorite day of the year, because it's a major mark and transition for the lives of students, not just as students, but as humans. I remember my move-in day, and I remember my mom and how she felt. And there was a moment where we just paused for a moment, me and my mom in my room. And then she looked at me and said, all right, gotta go see you at Thanksgiving. But please enjoy and embrace the moment. It is going to be an emotionally charged day for a lot of people. And so I would tell you to embrace the moment. Students, your parents are probably going to cry. They're probably going to be emotional. They're probably going to do some things that you may find embarrassing. Let them, because this is as much an important milestone for them as it is for you. Parents, please trust that you have left your student here with a very capable team of professionals that can provide support and assistance for your students as they manage this transition through their lives. And please don't yell at me on moving day if you see me. That bit of advice too.
I would say two things. My pragmatic one is to label all of your belongings for move-in. I know E'Quain mentioned this before, but put all of your things in something. We keep saying boxes, but it can be in a suitcase. It can be in a tub. It can be in one of those blue IKEA bags. If you found one, I think they stopped making them. The ones that zip up, not the ones that are loose. I say this because some very kind soul will pull up in their car with like loose socks and, you know, like every belonging they have just thrown in their trunk. And I am that chaotic human, but our movers cannot assist you that way. So put all of your stuff in a vessel, a box, luggage, whatever that looks like for you all, and put your name on it, your residence hall, and the room number. And honestly, I'd put a cell number in there as well. We are really, really good and efficient, but there will be 1 or 2 boxes out of the literal 20,000 that we're moving that's going to end up in the wrong room. And if your name is on it and it's got the right room number and a phone number, the person whose room it ends up in on accidentally is going to say, oh my gosh, this says E'Quain. I'm just going to text them right now. If your name is on it, not the cell phone number, the RA will help get it to the right place. But like if you put all those things, we will get it to you even faster. So it's my pragmatic advice. My mom advice for my children are really little right now and in grade school, but for students and for families, soak up whatever it is that you love right now about being at home right now. So if it is a favorite meal that someone in your household cooks, or it is a favorite restaurant, or if it is snuggling a pet or a younger sibling, or spending time with high school friends who aren't going to see for a while, do all of those things now. Celebrate some of your family traditions now. So if that's Friday pizza and movie night at home, if that is going for walks on the park on a Sunday morning, do those things because you won't be able to for a little bit. And those are just special moments that you have. So pack all your belongings and label them, but also just soak up those last favorite to-dos at home while you can.
Great. Katharine, E'Quain, thank you both so much again. Families, we hope you learned valuable information this evening, getting ready for move-in and fall welcome starting just next week. I know we didn't get to every single specific question tonight, so please feel free to reach out via that contact information we shared earlier in the chat if you still have questions. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, and that recording will be on our website, families.wustl.edu, by end of day tomorrow, so you can watch it back to give yourself some reminders. And then stay tuned for our fall family webinar series. We will have those topics, dates, registration links released soon, again, on that same website, families.wustl.edu. So we'll see you all soon. Thank you again, and have a good night. Bye.